like to call the August meeting of the Lafayette City Council to order. Would everyone please rise and pledge for the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance
of the United States of America, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, justice for all.
Would the clerk conduct a roll call, please?
Heidi, Clinker, Meyer,
Here.
Reynolds,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Allersmeyer, here, Williamson, here, Downing,
Here.
Campbell,
Here.
quorum present.
You have received the minutes of the July meeting. Are there any corrections to that? Then I would entertain a motion to accept them.
So moved.
Second.
Williamson, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Presentation and disposal of claims.
There are none.
Petitions and communications.
There are none.
Reports of city offices.
Clerk's office, monthly June. Water Pollution Control Department, monthly June. Waterworks Department, monthly June. And Fleet Maintenance Department, monthly June.
All those reports are on file in the clerk's office, and they are available for your viewing during business hours. Ordinances for second reading.
Ordinance 2013-16, an ordinance amending section 8.07.030 of the Lafayette City Code, weed and rank vegetation, notice to owner.
Mr. Downing.
I move to hear and approve ordinance 2013-16.
Mrs. Williamson.
Second.
Discussion by members of the Common Council. Mrs. Chosnick. Ms. Chosnick.
Good evening, Jackie Chosnick, Deputy City Attorney. This ordinance will incorporate two changes recently made by the state legislature that allows municipalities to provide notice for weed violations, weed and tall grass violations by regular mail as opposed to certified mail. And it also allows the city to issue a continuous abatement notice, which allows us to issue a notice on the first violation saying each subsequent violation will be abated by the city without further notice. Incorporating both of those changes into our ordinance is anticipated to save a fair amount of money, at least $800 a year, and will improve efficiency and the speed for us to take care of nuisance property.
Any questions of Ms. Chosnick? Who owns the property of where the old solar baker was?
The city does.
Oh. Who do we check into to see if that could be mowed? Mayor? No? Quickly. So if we could get that mowed, fine. Thank you. Would the clerk then conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2013-16?
Clinker.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Allersmeyer.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0.
Thank you. Ordinance 2013-17.
An ordinance repealing Chapter 4.09, Peddlers, Transient Vendors, Solicitors, and Beggars, and replacing with new Chapter 4.09, Peddlers and Solicitors with new Chapter 4.16, Transient Merchants.
What's the pleasure of the council, Ms. Salzmeyer?
I move we hear and approve ordinance 2013-17.
Ms. Brown.
Second.
Discussion by members of the Common Council. Ms. Chosnick.
Yes, this ordinance is a update and modernization of our current peddlers, solicitors, and transient merchants code, which is outdated and has been difficult to interpret and implement. It clarifies what information is required in the application, how the application is going to be approved and processed, and sets forth certain expectations of standards of conduct when you're conducting business in the city.
Any questions of Ms. Chosnick? Members of the audience wish to address this ordinance. There being no comments, would the clerk then conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2013-17?
Clinker.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Allersmeyer.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0.
Ordinance 2013-18.
An ordinance authorizing the City of Lafayette to issue its taxable economic development revenue bond, Series 2013 LUA project, and approving other actions in respect thereto.
Mr. Clinker.
I move we hear 2013-18 on second
Sure.
reading. Second.
Second. Any questions or discussions prior to the mayor's presentation?
I'll keep my presentation relatively brief. You've heard it several times in work sessions and now through all the different votes that have been required to get us to this point. But as you know, this is the final vote here on the co-working space, the bonds for the co-working space called Matchbox. It will be across the street here. Extremely excited about what it means for our community as we look at building that ecosystem and infrastructure of innovation and entrepreneurship and technical opportunities for everyone in our community and the young people that we hope to keep here. So we appreciate your support, and once we get this done, we've got things lined up with the banks, and it won't take us too long to get to work and get that project to be a reality.
Any questions of the mayor? Any questions by members of the audience? There being none, would the clerk then conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2013-18?
Blinker?
Aye.
Meyer?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Allersmeyer?
Aye.
Williamson?
Aye.
Downing?
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0.
Thank you. Ordinances for first reading.
Ordinance 2013-23, and amended to Ordinance 2010-11, establishing a local Columbia Street Historic District in the city of Lafayette, Indiana, 811 Columbia Street.
What's the pleasure of the council, Mr. Meyer?
Move for passage of ordinance 2013-23.
Mr. Reynolds?
Second it.
Questions or comments prior to presentation? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Jenny Peterson with Community Development. Can you give a little background?
Would you speak a little louder for some of the older people?
Yes, sir. This property received CDBG funding through the Community Development Department, and as a covenant with that, we ask that they be included as a single-site historic district at 811 Columbia to help keep that funding intact and restore the historical fiber.
Any questions of this young lady? I think, Mr. Meyer, you're on a committee, are you not?
Yeah, the Historic District, the Preservation Committee, and this came before that committee, and it was approved unanimously and recommended for approval. Council.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any questions or comments by members of the audience? There being none, would the clerk conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2013-23?
Blinker?
Aye.
Meyer?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Allersmeyer?
Aye.
Williamson?
Aye.
Downing?
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0.
Thank you. Ordinance 2013-24.
An ordinance to vacate a portion of the public way in the city of Lafayette, Indiana. Bob Worman, Auto Group petitioner.
Mr. Downing.
I move to hear and approve ordinance 2013-24.
Williams.
Second.
Comments by members? Yes, sir.
I will need to excuse myself on ordinances 2013-24 and 25 due to conflict of interest, so the record could reflect.
Okay, thank you. Let the record show that, please, at 7:10. Any comments or questions by members of the Common Council? Anyone in the audience wish to address this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Joe Bumbleberg with Ball Eggleston. I represent Mr. Rorman here this evening. I have with me, if we have technical questions, John Espinez, who is the construction manager for Mr. Rorman on numerous of his projects. I believe you have a new map. The other night at caucus, one of your number indicated that the map that we had provided with the petition was not as technical or detailed as he might like to have. So I've given you another one, which is really part of an aerial photograph to show you what we're doing. Mr. Rorman seeks to vacate this very small piece of ground. It's right behind his new Toyota store. This piece of ground has no road on it. It's essentially two lines on several maps in that whole general area. Piece of ground is about 530 feet long and about 60 feet wide. There's no asphalt on it. It has never, ever, as close as I can tell, been improved as a way of anything. Both sides of this road or this piece are owned by Mr. Rorman, and the current plans are to join the piece his store sets on and the piece north of this all as one particular piece of property. And the reason that he needs this is that what he'd really like to do is to improve his employee parking, improve the parking for people who are there waiting for repair services, and to permit the spaces that those people are taking up right now that are closer to the front to be used for new car display as it properly ought to. Interestingly enough, this is a very small piece in a much larger grand plan that's yet not very precise, not very substantial, but we have the necessity to rezone this particular piece in order to put parking on it, believe it or not, and then we'll own another strip that will go clear out to Creasy Lane, and that's yet another possibility down the road for some form of residential development that would be consistent with the northern area. But in any event, this is a way to help him straighten out his parking structure to keep him from having to rent other space and to make this piece useful by hooking it to that which he already owns on both sides. John's here for questions if you might have any.
Questions of Mr. Bumbleberg?
Is that going to be a roadway?
No.
Oh, it's not going to be a road.
No, we're going to fill it up and it's going to become parking lot.
I heard you say that, but I also see looks like a road going down through there.
Stubs.
Right
Stubs
there,
behind
Brick
it.
Farm Drive. Isn't that a road or not?
That is.
Okay.
The east of it.
Okay, but will that not extend through there?
No, it's not going to extend through there.
Okay, and so there's no taxes paid if it was a road. That's what I'm saying. Should be worth something though, shouldn't it?
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Bumbleberg.
So there are no plans to repeat what he just said. Britt Farm Drive will not go out to Britt Farm Road there.
The area plan has looked at this, and they have looked at a plan that would turn Britt Road, because the piece north of this area is a long, narrow piece, and to access it and use it properly, this putting the road in like that was planned many, many years ago, simply wouldn't work.
Okay. So it's a dead issue at that point. The road is a dead issue.
As far as we're concerned, it is.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
Thank you for this map, by the way. It's
Yes, sir. Sir, do you want to step forward and identify yourself?
I'm Robert Kelly. I live on Eastland Drive. And, I go down there quite frequently and, see how the water flows down through there and a few other things. But there is a ditch that goes behind every business through there, even directly behind Gorman's new building. It's probably about 3 feet deep and probably 60 inches wide. If they put a parking lot in it, means they got to tile that to access all that water coming off the other businesses, coming down toward that ditch.
Thank you. Maybe the city engineer might be able to address that from the standpoint of stormwater collection and or retention.
Jenny Leshney, City Engineer. If a parking lot is built over any drainage way, by our ordinance, they cannot block off any upstream drainage. So whatever construction would happen over this particular area, if it drains, would have to be built through that site. They couldn't block off anything that would drain through there.
Drainage ditch that this gentleman's talking about, the 3 feet depth, and thank you.
So does that go to the county drainage board, or will it just not a permit be given unless there is drainage?
That comes through our office as permits.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Maybe Mrs. Williamson, you could sit here and be a pro tem.
All right.
So that I might address this issue. Here he goes again, same old, same old. I have a number of comments about this particular vacation and of all vacations. I would ask the members of the audience who would like to have 8/10 of an acre of land on that is assessed for $58,000 free. Take it. Okay, good. There's 8/10 of an acre back there. I checked with the people at the county courthouse today, and they said that that land would be assessed at a roughly $70,000 per acre, or $58,000 of assessed valuation. I heard at the previous caucus meeting there was some comment about that land would start paying for itself if we were to allow it to go to Mr. Rorman at no cost. At no cost. And that would go on to tax rolls. And our city would get $493 per year taxes from that particular property. $493 per year. The first payment would come in the year of 2015 because it would not be assessed until January 1 of next year. Seems to me that we've gone just overboard on some of these vacations. That we give the land up. We gave up the land or an alleyway at the CVS drugstore, which I went into the other day, and our alley would go right through the prescription department. And I would assume that that would have a certain amount of value. And the same this land. It has a certain amount of value. Obviously, the county assessor feels that the value of it is $1,000 of money. That as elected officials, we are put in this position to protect the taxpayers of the city of Lafayette of its treasures. This land is a treasure of some sort. There's only so much land out there, and it cannot be reproduced, much like I saw hamburgers being reproduced on TV tonight. So it seems to me that at some point in time, and if this passes tonight, which it probably will because I've been barking up the wrong tree for a long time, that it seems to me that we have to come up, and I would like to direct the city council to look into this situation of how cities can be compensated for the particular land that we're just giving away for nothing. Now, I'm along with you, RB. You raised your hand and you were on that land. So you and I might get into a bidding war over this. See how much we could get this land for. I think at some point in time, it has to stop. And I think that this would be a good time. I mean, the discrepancy between the value of that land and what the city would get in tax money of $493 once a year or half of that, we'll say 200 and what, Mr. Whatever you want it to be. Good.
Almost 250.
How much?
Almost 250.
Almost $250, thank you. That's what the city would accrue for saving this land and putting it on the tax rolls. So I beg you to look at this awfully hard and see if you can justify in your mind giving that land away for a paltry $250 every half year. Thank you. You didn't have to referee any fight?
No.
Any other comments? Would the clerk then
Hold on.
conduct a roll call vote?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What was the acreage? It was
8/10 of an acre.
8/10 of an acre. What would the stormwater fees be on that? Do you know off the top of your head? Jenny? I mean, we're not going to get to 58,000. That's a very good point, Mr. Campbell, but we also aren't taking care of it either, right? I mean, do we not mow it? Somebody else, whoever the owners are, mows it, and we don't put any money into it either, right?
I think you'd have to ask Mr. Downing, that's his district. Is it maintained?
I don't know. I was out there, I looked at it, it's a ditch.
Ditch.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody probably just mows it as a favor, right? Right.
Good.
I'm just...
Yes,
oh,
sir.
Question for Mr. Bumbleberg. This is a landlocked anyway, isn't it? In other words, he owns everything around it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's...
That's not quite accurate, because there are some pieces on the end of this wonderful map I got done.
Yeah, but like...
This piece right here on the end.
Right.
Flex up against,
Right.
and on the other end.
So basically being landlocked, the value that's assessed value that we're looking at is really not that value. Is that... Okay, that's what I'm... Okay, thank you.
What would you estimate it's worth?
You know, the fact is, I'm not in the real estate business,
Oh,
Yeah.
but
Well, but Mr. Barbie and me,
thank you.
Landlocked is pretty hard here.
I think Mr. Campbell makes an excellent point, and it does make me a little nervous with the Britt Farm Drive. I mean, there's a lot of things that we've done that are a mess, and it didn't make a lot of sense because there's no value. But this is a piece that is looks like it could be extended for traffic reasons if we reduce the amount of stoplights and had it come up with Britt Farm Road. I mean, this is one that is it doesn't look cut and dry. I agree with you.
But also does Mr. Rorman, I'm sure, pays several $1,000s in taxes for this new property he already has, too.
certainly in a brand-new building and a new
Right.
business that he
Okay.
put there, which must have some value to the city.
Absolutely.
But if I might direct question Mr. Chosnick, when the alley was purchased for CVS, it was indeed purchased, was it not? That's a loaded question.
Yeah, I don't recall, actually.
It
but
was purchased.
It was.
I can answer that for a paltry sum.
Well, it was a sum that your lawyer represented was a fair
Paltry,
amount, and
in
you
my
people
mind.
all voted for it.
Well, you know, when I
And
reviewed...
the praise, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I think it was a
It was, Alan White did it.
praise if we... alley, but the way most of these alleys that are his predecessor that actually owned have to pay for it, so it was dedicated because the understand now they believe that there is a better alternative. They have a point in terms of heard from the Area Plan Commission, I have verified with the city engineer's office, it's not part of the master trail plan, which was one of the concerns that we, is that correct, Jenny?
Follow along the new route of the road. So discussed that when we did the master trail plan as they were finishing their design for their plan.
It's going to go to the north.
It's land that he owns on the other side of this road. To make the parking lot work with their layout, this had to move north. So this would be
If we need to make those two things happen more simultaneously.
I mean, you're talking about subdivision process and the design process.
We'd have to do it with easement.
Yeah. And right now,
We'd have to do it with easement.
Uh-huh.
And right now, part of the discussion on that road that she talks about is not only the trail, but the buffering that would be required. This is not a simple thing that would be done in a very short period of time. It's a long-range kind of plan.
Question. That road, you say it goes north. Would it go up right next to Orchard Heights along that way? Is that too far north?
I've seen so many outs on that particular property. It all depends on what. So far, nobody's been able to come up financially viable to develop on that narrow strip that goes back to Creasy Lane. And part of that is your buffer yard requirements from the Orchard Heights neighborhood eats into a lot of the developable property through there. So, which is one reason it was attractive to put the master trail through there, because that could act as part of the buffer and give that cushion between whatever that commercial development would be and the residential on the other side.
How much is a buffer from those houses there on
10 feet, yeah.
40 feet,
approximate 40 feet?
and it has to be vegetated or types of plantings and zoning ordinance what that buffer has to be.
So in your professional opinion, Jenny, would this section affect any future road or trail that we would need or property that the city would need to do that later? Like, are we going to be purchasing back right-of-ways for trails or Britt Lane or Britt Farm Drive or any of that?
Whenever we do the trail, we'll have to get it.
And could this property be some of this? So if we were buying it back, then we'd be giving it away now and having to buy it back later? Because that would certainly be
Now it could go along Britt Drive, or it could even go up right along the edge of the orchard. One time we just have a kind of a line on a map that shows where that can be.
so this 21 feet could be valuable to us.
The road curves here. Here to get to here. That's and the trail. I don't even know where the trail is down here. I'm up here. Well, and that will only occur if that road appears there. But, you know, the plan that she has in the master plan really is going to probably only work, as her plan is, if indeed that road is moved to the northern part of this piece of property, rather than put where this piece of ground would lead it.
Well, it looks like it narrows as you look at the area north west of that. It's wider and then comes down. And Britt Farm Drive is still a city improved piece of property there that is the part that is paved there on our map. City
Yes.
still has that.
Yes.
But you can see too that there was in fact a turn built in there on Britt Farm Road. So part of the problem is that there were some of those turns built, and then the people in that subdivision went and took all the stub streets and had them vacated and taken out.
Bird Farm Drive on that part that looks like it's as wide as the other, the city still has improvement in. We still improve it, we still own it, and it's still accessible for any future projects. I'm thinking maybe the timing of this maybe is not, just not enough.
Well, I can tell you, if you're waiting for the end of the land north of this toward Creasy Lane to get developed, you're several years away, I guess. By the time you go through all the processes to do it, it's going to be a long time coming. In the meantime, you defer, Mr. Rorman's ability to treat these two pieces of ground, or at least treat them in a business-like way.
May I ask, I know there have been all kinds of drainage issues in the Orchard Heights neighborhood. The runoff on this impervious pavement, I'm assuming he's not using a pavement where the water's going to filter back down into the ground. Are there separate storm and sanitary sewers out there? Is it going to overflow and cause more drainage issues?
There's a separate storm system for
Okay.
this undeveloped land that goes into the pond that's already back there.
Okay.
Maintenance issues and trying to resolve some maintenance drain into that pond.
Detention pond is really in bad shape, so it's not of any use right now.
I wonder about tabling this and then having that land appraised.
Careful
Okay.
with what you say.
Let one of us say that.
Okay.
And going back to Mr. Reynolds' comment about buying all of this property, I am guessing that Mr. Rorman negotiated with Mr. Britt prior to buying that property. That is what is not being shown here. There's no negotiation here. We're just giving it away. None whatsoever. And the other thing I wonder about, I think you mentioned surrounded by Mr. Rorman's property. On one side, it is abutting Mr. Rorman's property. The other parts of it, to the west and to the north, I'm guessing that might even not qualify as 50% of the land if we were going to annex that into the city. Now, obviously, it is in the city, but it is missing that criteria of 50% of the land. That it does not have 50% of it there represented. So,
If he owns the land all around, why wasn't this strip purchased? Was it not purchased was it not owned by the person that could sell that at the time, Mr. Britt or whomever he purchased all the other land from? What's the story with this little strip?
It was originally a development plan was set forth. They laid out a system of roads in there, platted rights of way, and then started to build lots along there. And this section was never built. I mean, the right of way was platted through the subdivision ordinance, and it was never constructed. So that can happen. It's happened in several other subdivisions where they build in phases and then the market changes or things are different 5-10 years later, and they decide to reconfigure or redevelop the land. It happens quite frequently, actually. This particular situation, I think everything other than that section of road and how it was going to develop out to Creasy Lane has occurred. A little bit different, but there is no public improvement on that.
Reynolds?
Hasn't there always been a controversy with Orchard Heights never did want any part of coming to 26 or that area? Isn't that correct? I mean, it goes back a long time. Yeah. So they would never give up probably to let any kind of a road or anything come through there anyway. Okay.
When Orchard Heights was platted, if you went and looked at the original plat maps, there were a whole series of stub streets
Yeah.
along there, and then most of those stub streets are gone at the request of the people in the
Yeah, and just what little investigation I found out that it would take an act of Congress to probably ever get anything connected.
The,
It's not going to.
excuse me, the, Cortland Avenue, that was the one going through the 26. And that's, the Orchard Heights didn't want people coming off 26 going up Cortland. Yeah, and, so there's a little place there for it, but it's been vacated.
Okay. So we're still
If that were
quite a few
100%
years to get to 58,000. That's what I was. If you find the buyer, right? Was there a variance on that property to be able to put the building as close to the area that's talked about being vacated now? Because it looks pretty close to the line.
First of all, you got to be careful. Part of that shadow from the aerial photograph, and
Okay.
the other part of it is that this is commercial, and I'm not sure you have a backyard setback without looking in the book.
Okay. And then the other question was the trails that were proposed, and we said quite a few years. How long do we think it'd be? I mean, before that trail and that stub there or that area, what in our master plan does that say? No ballparks then, you don't think?
Yeah, it's a point your master plan, yeah, yeah.
Oh, it is on the 20-year trail plan. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Mubbleberg? Yeah. All right. I'll switch back.
Other comments? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is John Espinez. I'm Mr. Rorman's construction manager. I don't think you're quite understanding what we're proposing to do here. When we vacate this section, we join that other property to it. And he's talking about turning the road to the north, running it along that north property line, and turning it back and connecting it to Eastwood Drive. We've sat down with the city, Bob Foley and his people, and we've come up with a plan for the width of the street and the trail, incorporating that as part of our construction. Now, you don't have those documents in front of you, but it was our intention to put that street in, which would be at no cost to the city, plus the trail for that section, and the buffer zone, plus sidewalks that they wanted on both sides. So I want you to make sure that you consider that, too, that will be what comes with the plat of subdivision for this section, that all those improvements would be shown. So does anybody have any questions on that?
John, then Britt Farm Drive then stays the city, and then that piece has to move north of that? If it's here, that road that you're proposing that would be... Sure, absolutely.
We would be...
Right, I understand.
So there, I mean...
Get rough.
Okay. And that...
have a bigger... I I think it's as a taxpayer, I think it's a good deal for the city. They're getting lots of improvements. We're working on the trail. And that in the second phase, we've already talked about taking the trail all the way down to Creasy for you. So I mean, whatever I don't know where people come up with 58,000, but I mean,
So John,
I just don't see that.
part of this improvement, that will happen?
That will happen, yeah.
Okay.
And we've already discussed it with Bob Foley, and the city has laid out exactly what they'd like to have there. And we intend to just follow their direction. I think it's a win-win situation for everybody. So, plus it will be enhancing the drainage there. I know there's concerns on the drainage, and that will all be handled before any construction begins. All the plans would be approved.
Thank you for sharing that, because I wasn't
Does that
aware
help
of that.
a little bit?
Absolutely, it does for me.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes, ma'am.
I move to table this until we can gather more information at next month's meeting.
Second to that
I second
motion.
that.
All right. We will now vote on the motion to table this until more information, I think, or...
Yeah, until September, until we can gather. He said he would be willing to bring us more information. Could you bring us more information next month about your plan? Maybe a little bit more. Okay.
The way a vacation works, it's like a regular ordinance. It requires 2 readings, and in fact, there have next month before it can be considered. I think the council, you can either table.
Okay.
It would be.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well,
Yes, I would like to withdraw my
Second
motion.
that, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
well, there's no need for me to make a comment. Well, I guess I will anyway, just to... Mr. Campbell's had a lot of time tonight, I might try to equal him. There is a rezoning in the process traveling along for this whole area as we speak. And we've got this program so that if everything comes out all right, the vacation occurs, the rezoning happens, and then we can turn to the subdivision stuff and really get on the detailed planning there. So it's all in a timeline that we think will work. So that's why we are really concerned about, and Ed's right, you have one more reading on it, and if you don't get all the data, then you can shoot this thing at that time.
So, Mr. Bumbleberg, you're on board then, too, with showing us a board?
You know me better than that, Mr. Clinker. I'll show you anything you want that I've got.
All right.
Then, that motion has been withdrawn, and we will have a vote on the ordinance. I forgot what the number was. 2013-24.
Mr. Clinker?
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Allersmeyer?
Aye.
Williamson?
Aye.
Downing?
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0.
I would entertain a motion for a public hearing for the date of September the 9th, 2013, at 7:01.
So moved.
Second.
Take note of that. We'll have that public hearing. Ordinance 2013-25.
An ordinance to vacate a portion of the public way in the city of Lafayette, Indiana, Purdue Federal Credit Union, City of Lafayette petitioners.
What's the pleasure of the council? Mr. Brown?
Mr. President, I move that we hear and approve ordinance 2013-25 on first reading.
Second.
Discussion by members of the Common Council. Anyone in the audience wish to address this particular ordinance?
Not wishing, Mr. Campbell, to create any consternation. but I'm Joe Bumbleberg. I'm with Ball Eggleston. I'm here to talk about a vacation.
The Bahamas?
Oh,
What state is it, Vegas, or Appleton, Vegas?
I have with me representatives of the Purdue Credit Union, President Bob Falk, and the manager of this project, Amy Keith. This is a joint petition, as a matter of fact, signed by the City of Lafayette also, because as we started to go through this process, we discovered that not only was this alley an interesting legal problem, but that this whole block was a series of interesting legal problems. For example, the alley is fine up to one point, and then it vanishes into the fire department's parking lot. Yet the alley under the parking lot still exists. The alley is shut off at that point, so that the alley can't be used as an alley all the way from 15th Street to Erie Street because of the parking lot. Now, the parking lot serves absolute useful purposes, and I know the chief's here, and we've talked to him. They need that parking lot, but there it is. It's in the middle of this whole process. So as we start to go to the upgrading of the building, the upgrading of the areas where the automatic tellers are, and the remodeling, we're talking about a significant cash outlay which will benefit the City of Lafayette in that particular area. By the way, Ed and I chose, after we looked at this mapping mess, not to tinker with 16th Street. 16th Street, interestingly enough, still exists and runs right through one end of the fire station. That happens a lot in these old neighborhoods. I think Mr. Chosik would say so. See, Mr. Teeter's here, and he's probably dealt with that same kind of problem in the older areas. These things happen, and you have to just work around them. Now, we have consulted with the Blueprint Specialties on the corner, and we have consulted with St. Elizabeth Hospital, and we have been assured both of their cooperation, and they have been assured that we will put in place a process where they will have unimpeded access to their lot. Now, that really only applies to the hospital lot, which, by the way, we sold to them several years ago. And with Copy Print Shop, they already have an access, and they've told us, frankly, at a meeting at my office, that they really didn't care what we did, as long as we spruced up the neighborhood, which is what they're about ready to do here. We've looked at this map, and what we're trying to do here is clean this alley out from 15th Street to the to Erie. We've reviewed all the old records, by the way, and we've discovered an interesting fact. Back in 1988, this alley was up to about 1988, in mid-'80s. It was a crushed rock alley. How that crushed rock got there, we're not quite sure, but it really doesn't make much difference because at that time the alley was reconstructed, dug up, and all the asphalt relaid, new base put in, the whole works was all put in. Who did that? Credit Union did that. They put in that whole alley there. And since that time, all of the maintenance of this alley used by the credit union has been accomplished by the credit union. Fill the chuck holes, pour the asphalt, all of those kinds of things. Many thousands of dollars have been spent to upgrade this particular alley by the credit union to do this. And all, we're trying to lift up this neighborhood by doing an appropriate thing. We're going to clean up part of this legal mess of an alley and get it straightened out. And we're not going to harm anybody in the neighborhood. Then I lead you to treat of how you conclude that the many thousands of dollars that we've done of repair work, upgrading in the alley, how that investment means anything in this whole process. But in the meantime, our folks are here from the credit union to talk to you about this if you have questions from them. So we would ask you to expedite this project by granting us first reading approval. Thank you.
I have a question for the city attorney. My uncle and cousin own an abutting property there, the Blueprint Shop he was talking about. Since it will be vacated to PEFQ, That's no conflict then at that point. I should vote on this, right?
Vacation is by PEFCU. I think they have an agreement with the hospital and with the buyer that real estate, but when it's vacated, it goes, half of the alley would go to Clinkers and half would go to St. E that abuts their property. I think PEFCU has worked out some kind of an agreement to acquire it, and then they're going to get easements and so on. So the vacation and second part of your question on the conflict.
I will. Okay. That's what I was hearing. So I want to make sure I will abstain. With the record.
Credit union.
How big are you?
Your abstention wouldn't be very important, but your silence would be great.
That
would never happen in your life.
Mr. Bumbleberg,
My dying
will the
like these.
alley be widened?
No, we're going to use the alley as it is. There will be, as we pave it and everything, I'm sure the natural spread a little bit.
But
we're not going to.
Are they going to move that light pole that's right there?
We have to treat that light pole because under the law, all those utility easements stay in place no matter if there is a vacation. So we've got to deal with them. There's one
light pole there. It's not very good.
Well,
I
think there's more than one there.
Close to the alley.
If it's not pole alone, it has a guy wire or something that's there that's going to have to be addressed.
What are their plans to, as far as you talked about the ATMs and the bank telling machines that are back behind the building, to make that a little safer to exit once? Is it still part of the alley system? Or are they going to make it a little bit safer? Because it's, one car now as it is. And if you exit and another car is coming the other way, you're kind of stuck. So
let's let Mr. Falk address that.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Bob Falk from Purdue Federal Credit Union. First question on the telephone poles. I want them all out.
Good.
But I can't do that. But one of the things we do right now, because we own, our drive-up ends at the alley, and our lot from the Salem side, our lot ends at the alley. From the Union Street side, our lot ends at the alley as well. If I own the alley, I can move traffic across the alley into my parking lot and then back out around those telephone poles. I can clean up access. I can bring it back into the Union Street side, bring it back out to 15th. So we have a couple more options if I can bring my property across the alley. So that's the main purpose for us. As we're laying out this renovation, which is probably going to be about $1.2 million to $1.5 million renovation of the entire interior, exterior of the building, it would be remiss on our part to not take a look at the alley as well and try to fix this all at once. It should have been done a long time ago. Right now, as it stands, if someone came out of our drive-up and hung a left, they could go through the fire station parking lot, which isn't right either, and then it really makes a really awkward potential left turn onto Erie, or but the right turn would be easy onto Erie, but a left turn would be really awkward across traffic. So we're trying to clean some things up so that we can allow people to come in off of Salem, go out on Union, which is really tricky right now because you have to do a bunch of series of turns and navigate the poles. Other option is to go around those poles and get them out between Blueprint Specialties and the St. Francis parking lot. So we think we can help the ingress-egress of the traffic flow as well. It also gives us some flexibility. If we get really busy, our drive-up is a little bit too close to Salem. I'd like to move it a little bit closer to my building, allow one more car of stacking, and as we call stacking, more cars lined up in the drive-up, so we have a little more room to stack them in there. So it just gives us, we haven't permanently placed that drive-up yet because it's really dependent upon this decision and this process. Once we have that, we'll be able to move that drive-up in a better spot. Other questions? I'll be happy to answer anything. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you, Mr. Paul.
That's all I have.
Clerk then conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2000. 13.
Reynolds.
Oh, Clinker.
Oh, Clinker.
Oh, no, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah. Okay. All right, Mr. Reynolds.
Yes.
Okay.
Have it.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Lawrence.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Okay. So this passes 5-0 with
Sorry,
two
Cindy.
Abstention.
Yes.
Need a public hearing. I am guessing that 7:02 wouldn't be a good time. We'll take that at sometime after 7:01. The motion, Mr. Brown?
So moved, sir.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Resolutions.
Resolution 2013-11, resolution authorizing the Common Council of the City of Lafayette to forward proposals to the Ordinance Committee of the Area Plan Commission of Tippecanoe County, Indiana, to amend the text of the Unified Zoning Ordinance of Tippecanoe County, Indiana.
What's the pleasure of the council, Mr. Reynolds?
Move here and approve resolution number 2013-11.
You, Mr. Meyer.
Second.
Discussion by members of the Common Council. Anyone in the audience wishing to address this ordinance?
Evening. My name's Kevin Riley. I'm with Riley, Teeter and Schreier. We represent a landowner who's interested in these proposed amendments because of the duplex development that it has in the city. I don't know how much information you want or need about the history of that development. I'm happy to provide it if you want. Otherwise, I would say that the amendments that are subject to this resolution are intended to resolve a conflict between the subdivision ordinance and the zoning ordinance. The nature of that conflict is that the subdivision ordinance allows multiple duplex units on a single lot, whereas the zoning ordinance requires each duplex to be located on a separate lot. So the amendments that are being proposed clean up that issue. We met with the Annexation, Redevelopment, and Zoning Committee on 2 occasions. It's our understanding that they are unanimously in favor of this. Our client obviously is in favor of this, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Jerry.
Kevin.
Yes, so we already have a property that has, this would be cleaning up an issue with a property on the east end of town. As I understand, it's the name of it, what's the name of the property?
The Hawthorne Meadows.
Hawthorne Meadows, I was Buckhorn. And it'll be like in a large apartment complex right now is one lot. This would allow it to be a large lot of R2 duplexes, which is even less dense than the apartment. So we would just have to understand that in the future that R2 means that it could be a group of duplexes and with one owner.
Right. So one owner or single lot. If you have multiple duplexes on a single lot, it would be a single owner.
Yeah. And as this goes forward, West Lafayette and the county may not adopt it. It could be all of it, but we're recommending that 3-0, that at least we do that in Lafayette when it comes back. Does that sound right to you?
It's one of those things where all of the different organizations have to
What this resolution does is it's recommending that the Ordinance Committee of the Area Plan Commission consider it. Whether it'll come back here or not, the City of Lafayette has the ability to make certain changes, and we do have. If you look at the Unified Zoning Ordinance, I think most of the changes have been on the west side, but there's special footnotes and so forth that relate to things that occur in West Lafayette primarily, but we can have footnote changes that would impact just Lafayette only. Right now, this is kind of the preliminary resolution that says the City of Lafayette Common Council would like the Area Plan Commission, Ordinance Committee, to take a look at this, and we're recommending that you can changes so that the conflict between the subdivision ordinance and the zoning ordinance, which has actually created a questionable rezoning that we did a few years ago, this development to. I think the committee determined that it was actually, all it does is allows a multifamily development or an apartment development, instead of being 3 stories high and having 20 apartments in a building, having 2-unit buildings as an apartment community. So I think that was
and the one owner also, I believe, was discussed, is that that took care of their trash, they took care of all their own snow removal, took care of everything.
Yeah, and as a part of this resolution, the recommendation is that it's one owner and that it'll incur no care of the streets, snow removal, etc.
And the mowing will be uniform, all within a...
uniform.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the benefit of having a single owner, is the uniform standard.
So will this not come back regardless, just with a positive or negative recommendation? They couldn't die there then? They wouldn't,
Yeah, it'll.
Okay.
I mean, if they say no, it's just like when they turn down a zoning.
Okay.
We have a chance to agree with them or disagree with them.
Okay. So it will come back just with a negative recommendation, if they don't, no, right, okay, gotcha.
Any other questions? Any members of the audience wish to address? Okay, would the clerk then conduct a roll call vote on resolution 2013-11?
Clinker?
Aye.
Meyer?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Allersmeyer?
Aye.
Williamson?
Aye.
Downing?
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Thank you. Resolution 2013-12.
A resolution acknowledging receipt of the fiscal year 2012 financial summary and directing city controller to file required reports with the Department of Local Government Finance.
What's the pleasure of the council? Mr. Downing.
I move to hear resolution 2013-12 and approve.
The Clinker.
Second.
Comments before Mr. Carson presents his plea.
Good evening, Dennis Carson, Economic Development Director for the City of Lafayette. This resolution is the product of some legislation that was passed this spring by the Indiana General Assembly that's requiring certain information to be reported to the fiscal body, and the fiscal body is the City Council here, and it's information from the Lafayette Redevelopment Commission on its TIF district. So specifically, it includes revenues paid in the previous year in 2012, expenses in 2012, the fund balances as of December 31st, 2012, the amount and maturity date of all of our outstanding bonds and other obligations, as well as a parcel-by-parcel accounting of all of the parcels in each TIF district, their assessed value and their increase in assessed value. So this information has to be first reported to the fiscal body, and then it will be later reported to the Department of Local Government Finance through our controller, through a system on the be uploaded on the internet. So this is an acknowledgement of your receiving of this information.
Not much choice. Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah. You asked for it, we did it.
Yep. Thank you.
Any members of the audience? Clerk then conduct a roll call vote on resolution 2013-12.
Clinker?
Aye.
Meyer?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Allersmeyer?
Aye.
Williamson?
Aye.
Downing?
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Thank you. Resolution 2013-13.
A resolution to approve the amended Lafayette Housing Consortium Home Program and the City of Lafayette Community Development Block Grant Plan for 2013.
What's the pleasure of the council, Mrs. Williamson?
I move for passage of resolution 2013-13 on first and final reading.
Second?
Yes, ma'am.
Jenny Peterson, Community Development. This resolution is to provide a greater level of transparency for our funding for CDBG and home this year. The previous amendment, 2013-8, was based upon estimated funding amounts, and since receiving our final numbers from HUD, we wish to have you reapprove this allocation. We received a 17% increase from what we estimated for CDBG and a decrease of 7.6% with home. And these numbers reflect that percentage-wise to keep the totals equal.
Any questions of this young lady?
So what has changed in terms of the funding?
The
allocations, excuse me, that's what I like to know.
We increased on a percentage basis. 20% is required to go to social services, so we took 20% of the 17% increase and then split that incrementally between those that we had awarded funds through the open public hearing originally, through the NOFA process. And then the same thing with home, they received a decrease on an equal percentage basis.
Thank you.
We didn't exceed anybody's ask with that, right? Because we were below for most, and some were below more than usual. So
yes. The only two that could have received an increase but did not, based on what us not being allowed to exceed what they asked for, was a homeless services that are offered through Wabash Center in conjunction with the City of Lafayette, as well as Riggs Community Health Referral. So neither of those received an increase. Yes. The rest of the applicants did receive increases.
Equal distribution.
Yes.
Thanks.
Any questions by members of the audience? There being none, would the clerk then conduct a roll call vote on 2013-13?
Blinker.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Hollersmeyer.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downey.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Thank you. Reports of standing committees. Reports of special committees. Reports by the mayor.
Well, ladies and gentlemen of the council, I want to do something special tonight. We have a young man in the audience, and I don't know if he knows why he's here yet, if his mother was able to trick him to get here, or if she had to tell him why he's here. But I want to honor a young man in our community. In fact, when Dan Teeter saw me putting the plaque here, he said, "Hey, I want a plaque like that." And I told him, I said, all of us in the front row put together can't run fast enough to get a plaque like this. And so we're joking about it. But Carl, if you want to come forward. Right there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl McQuay, and Carl is just graduated this year from Jefferson High School, and he'll be attending Indiana State University on a track scholarship. You probably have seen Carl in the paper at different times for his feats at Jefferson High School and
that blur?
state track blur. Track meet. He's done some remarkable things, but one of the things that he's done that truly is remarkable from the athletic standpoint that quite frankly I didn't feel got near enough recognition is Carl is Mr. Indiana in track and field for 2013. And I'll tell you, in the state of Indiana, regardless of what sport it is, if you're Mr. Indiana in your particular sport, that says a lot. And Carl has just done a fantastic job, not only in track, but at school and in the community. And I know that I personally have great hopes and great aspirations for what he's going to continue to do in the future. He's one of those guys, I think he's got the right stuff, and I think he's going to do great things. And I think accomplishments like this, and whether it's young men and young women that are moving on to do those things and representing the community and have represented the community so well, deserve that type of recognition. So I have made Carl a special presentation here, and I'll show you first. Everybody here, it's got Jefferson High School engraved on there, and it says the City of Lafayette honors Carl McQuay, Jefferson High School, for Mr. Indiana Track and Field 2013. You are to be commended on your dedication, hard work, and your commitment to excellence. And it's from me and the City Council, Carl, and all the citizens of this community. They're extremely proud of you. Congratulations.
like the mayor said, my mom, Lisa McCoy, did kind of trick me into it. Hey, just come with me real quick. So I ain't really prepared a speech. I just wanted to say it was a blessing that God allowed me these talents and stuff to give back to my city. So I definitely appreciate it. So that's it. Thank you.
Congratulations. Mr. Downing, were you a sprinter in high school?
Yeah. I was a hurdler.
You allow Mr. Bumbleberg.
Yeah. He's on the program here. In a moment, Ted, if you hold on. Miscellaneous and new business.
I was just going to say that maybe he can prepare a speech when he wins an Olympic medal. We'll have him back.
Reports of councilmen. Mr. Downing.
I just wanted to ask the mayor, who owns the property on Ferry Street, where the rock pile is, the concrete is between 29th and 30th? And we go by there and they got this, is it Denny's that owns that? Okay. The school's starting back, and there are some nice looking places where kids could climb up those big concrete rocks. And I thought, there's no trespassing signs or anything. And I think there should be something there. Would the city be responsible if a kid was crawling up there and fell?
Fencing.
Well, I understand it's going to disappear, but school's starting and there's a pile there. It looks inviting. A lot of these kids do the mountain climbing and all that stuff now, and I thought, just look a little shaky.
Not a bad idea.
Well, I thought some signs kids can surely read.
Some
Thank
orange
you.
fencing.
Ted.
Don't worry, I won't take too long. Just two announcements. I want to let you know that the Park Department is working on our 5-year master plan, and that survey is posted on our website with a link to the Survey Monkey group that's doing that. So if you could, we could go to the website and click on that and do that survey. We also have a very short survey on the website as well for Loeb Stadium for public input on that. So they're both on the front page of the Parks website, LafayetteParks.org. So when you type that in, they're right there. If you could please click on that. And then my last announcement is we are going to have kind of a public open house tour through Loeb Stadium on August 21st from 5 to 6:30, and that's at Loeb Stadium, where you can kind of get a little behind-the-scenes tour of the facility itself.
Hard hats?
You don't need those.
Not like Wrigley where the concrete's coming
No,
out
it's
of
not that. No.
Any questions of Mr. Bumbleberg? Thank you. Public input. I'm not going to let the day go by.
Prairie Barbie 3700 Redbud, and I don't have the hours to sell. First, I'd like to encourage everybody in the community to be a part of the 30th anniversary of the American Night Out, I think it's called, where everybody gets in be a part of the neighborhood, participate. I think there's 3 or 4 of them in the community of Lafayette that's going to be a part of the celebration, where they encourage people that may not usually hang out with the neighborhoods be part of the in the last 30 years they protect crime and everything, and it's a good way to know your neighbors if you don't already know your neighbors.
Good. Anything else, Perry?
I could go on and on, but I think we already been on quite a bit tonight. But some of the things that were brought up tonight was pretty good. I think sometimes we, like I said, we need to. I think we need 2 council meetings a month. No, I'm serious.
Perry, it's not going to happen in my lifetime. Maybe somebody else, but.
I don't know if there's small cities that has them. The law says all we have to do is have at least one. I really think, because some of the things we come to the table and we don't really know all the information that we have. If we had another date set aside, like Melissa said, if we had that extra date there, we could have time to work on it instead of.
Very people have put up listening to me enough. At one meeting, they don't need two to hear me.
That's what we get paid for.
Phone numbers are on the list.
Good. Anything else? Anybody else in the audience wish to address the Common Council? Mr. Downing, did Mr. Heidi give you any instructions?
Yes, he did. I move to adjourn.
Second, anyone?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Same.